Hey everybody, Justin Howe with the Window Experts here. I just wanted to take a few minutes today to kind of go over a little detail that comes up quite a bit when talking with clients about choosing the replacement windows. And the big question that comes up with them all the time is a single hung window versus a double hung window, and which style of window do they want to get in their house when they're getting the replacement windows. Now, just a real quick thing. Basically, when we're talking about a single hung versus a double hung, you're talking about a window that slides up and down. And with a single hung window, the top portion of the window is stationary and the bottom portion slides up and down. Now, here in my neck of the woods, down in Texas, single hungs are quite common because a lot of the old windows are aluminum and the upper glass is fixed and the bottom slides up and down. It's just what we know and what we're used to. Whereas a double hung window, both the top and the bottom sashes have the ability to move. So the bottom can go up, the top can go down. Both of them can be open at the same time. And you'll see that in older homes with old wood windows, even though the top sash has probably been painted shut many years ago. Once upon a time, they both did actually operate. It's my belief more northeast and eastern houses would have more of a double hung style window in them. So that's kind of the two differences between the single hung and the double hung. One, the top is stationary, and the other one, the top can move as well as the bottom. So the reason it's kind of important with the replacement windows is when you're getting to choose the replacement windows, a lot of manufacturers offer a double hung window as kind of their standard option for use. And the reason being is one of the kind of the cool features they like to show off is the tilt wash feature. And basically, if you think about it, that's where you have the two sashes of the window, and it's designed in such a way that they can tilt into the house. And the reason they kind of use that is, hey, it's a nice feature for easy cleaning, and that's typically what it's sold as a cleaning feature, so you can tilt them in. And in order to be able to tilt them both in, they would both have to operate and thus be a double hung window. Now, I'm quick to say, hold on a second, let's look at both sides of it, because I personally like single hung windows versus double hung windows. And kind of the main reasons for that is one of them is that the single hung window kind of gives you an overall tighter seal. And what I mean by that is because that top piece of glass is fixed in the window, doesn't have the ability to tilt, it's actually sealed to the frame of the window itself, and thus the bottom sash is the only one that can operate. So when it's closed and sealed, it's sealing around the perimeter of the window, and the glass on the top is actually sealed with an adhesive or sealant to hold the glass in place. With a double hung window, because you have two sashes that move, it relies more on gaskets around the perimeters of the window to keep things tight, keep the air out. And if that window is put in where there's a little bit of wiggle room around the sashes, or it's not sitting tight to the gasket, you have a increased chance of air infiltration with a double hung window that you wouldn't have with the single hung. So that's one of the reasons that I like it versus the double hung window. The other one for me is more of the on the side of the guy who sells the window and wants to make sure that it works for you for a long time, and that's less moving parts. Again, because we have a stationary glass at the top, the only thing that can slide up and down is the lower sash, and therefore you have half the moving parts, half the mechanical things that could be a problem, and makes it a little easier. The low maintenance factor on a single hung is much better because, again, you only have one part of that window that can move up and down, so less likelihood for something to be breaking on that window in the long term. This one is more of a personal preference for me, and that's with a single hung window, you only have a screen on the bottom half of the window. With a double hung, because both can go, both sashes can open, your screen is typically a full screen going from the top to the bottom of the window. And for me, like I said, it's a personal choice because I like having that screen on the lower half, because when I'm sitting in my house and I'm looking out, I'm typically looking out the upper portion of the window, looking out at the trees or the sky or what's going on. And not having a screen in the way just makes it feel like a little bit more of an open view for me. And that's something I prefer. Now, that again being a personal preference, but something to point out, when you're getting a double hung window, you will have that screen covering the top and the bottom of the window itself. Now, that's not to say that double hungs aren't a good option. There are some benefits to them. Again, the top sash being able to go up and down. It's nice where you can lower that top sash a little bit, let some air in while keeping the bottom sash closed. Some of my clients who have pets like that because they can keep the bottom down, and Fluffy or Kitty can roam freely, but they can get air in on a nice day. And then the other one, again, what a lot of window salespeople use as a feature is the tilt wash. And again, that's the idea that both of the sashes have the ability to tilt in to the house and give you that ease of cleaning idea, which again, I don't ever try to downplay that, but the one thing I always point out to my clients when they're making the decision is to stop and think, how many times in the last year, 2 years, 3 years have they actually cleaned their windows? And the counter argument to that is, oh yeah, if I could tilt them in and clean them, I would probably do it more. That's probably true, but again, the reality is, even if the window tilts on the inside, you still have to clean it. And with a tilt wash feature, the thing to always be aware of is that when a salesman is in your house with their sample window showing you this fantastic tilt wash feature, that sample window is usually 2 feet by 3 feet. Nothing big. It can be that by that. And that window is very easy to pull the latches and tilt the sashes in because the sashes are only that big. When you take a double hung window in a typical house down here in Texas, we like big windows. So you can have windows that are 3 feet wide by 6 feet high, 4 feet wide by 6 feet high, some even taller than that. When you're doing a double hung window in a window that tall, you need to think about the fact that your sash is now going to be almost 4 feet wide by 3 feet tall. And you're going to have to maneuver that big thing inside the house, both the top sash and the bottom sash, to clean them. So it gets a little harder to manage when you get a little bit bigger window. And I can tell you, if you do it about 2-3 times, you're going to decide it's easier to go outside the house, spray the window down and wipe it, or even easier, spend a little extra money, have somebody come clean it professionally. So keep in mind with that tilt wash feature, while it's great, while it does make for ease of cleaning, there are a lot of other factors that go into actually cleaning that window. One of them being the sizes of the sash make them a little harder to manage. The second one being is to always think about your window treatments. So most of us in Texas, again, we have blinds, and our blinds typically go up and down. So when you stack a blind at the top of the window, you've got that top sash that needs to tilt in. And what are you going to do if your shades are there? Well, you got to lower it more and you got to bring it down so you're not hitting it, or you got to make sure the shade's out of the way. So again, it becomes one of those things that, while it sounds great on paper, the reality is having that tilt wash feature may not be something that you find yourself using long term or being all that useful. So really what I would tell people is, if you are thinking about a double hung window and you've been shown the tilt wash feature, be aware of that. Once that big window is in place, there's a little more to managing it than just flipping it in, cleaning it, and going on with life. So if you're going to get a double hung window, do it mainly because you have the opportunity to lower that top sash if you want to let the air in. So again, I just wanted to kind of get it out there that I don't sell a lot of double hung windows. A lot of my competition, that's all they sell. I typically steer my clients more towards the single hungs for the benefits that we kind of talked about. The tighter seal, the less moving parts to worry about, the screen on the bottom, and the fact that when it really comes down to it, while the tilt wash feature on a double hung window sounds like a good idea, there's a lot more to it, and ultimately it's going to be a feature that doesn't get used. So why pay the extra money and have the extra hassle if you can get a nice single hung window that's built to look nice, do what you want it to, without all the extra headache and heartache that comes with using a double hung window. So that's my thoughts on single hung versus double hung. I'm sure everybody has their own opinions as to one being better than the other. Love to hear about it in the comments below. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments and we'll see if we can get answers back to you. Thank you.